Okay, this is the Helicopter Flying Handbook, Chapter 12, page 4 of 6, Common Errors of Attitude Instrument Flying. Fixation, or staring at one instrument, is a common error observed in pilots first learning to utilize instruments. The pilot may initially fixate on an instrument and make adjustments with reference to that instrument alone. Omission. Another common error associated with the attitude of instrument flying is omission of an instrument from the cross-check. Pilots tend to omit the standby instruments as well as the magnetic compass from their scans. The position of the instrument is often the reason for the omission. One of the most commonly omitted instruments from the scan is the Slipskid Indicator. Emphasis. In initial training, placing emphasis on a single instrument is very common and can become a habit if not corrected. When the importance of a single instrument is elevated above another, the pilot begins to rely solely on that instrument for guidance. When rolling out of a 180-degree turn, the attitude indicator, heading indicator, slipskid indicator, and altimeter need to be referenced. If a pilot omits the slipskid indicator, coordination is sacrificed. Inadvertent entry into IMC. Prior to any flight, day or night, an inadvertent IMC plan should be carefully planned and, if possible, rehearsed. Many aircraft mishaps can be blamed on the pilot's inability to recover an aircraft after inadvertently entering IMC. The desire to stay outside visually is very strong and can only be overcome through training. IMC trained helicopter pilots should climb to a safe altitude free of obstacles and obtain instrument clearance from ATC. However, for non-rated pilots and, more importantly, a non-IFR equipped helicopter, remaining VMC is critical. Pilots who are not trained in instrument flying IMC have a tendency to try and chase favorable weather by flying just above the treetops or following roads. The thought process is that as long as they can see what is below them, then they can fly to their intended destination. Experience shows us that continuing VFR flight in IMC is often fatal. Pilots get too fixated on what they see below them and fail to see what is ahead of them, such as power lines, towers, and taller trees. By the time the pilot sees the obstacle, it is too close to avoid collision. Helicopter pilots should always remain aware of flight visibility by comparing how much can be seen ahead. As soon as the pilot notices a marked decrease in visibility, the pilots must reevaluate the flight plan and landing options. A suitable landing area can always be used to sit out bad weather and let conditions improve. When planning for a night flight, pilots should carefully plan the flight over navigable routes with sufficient checkpoints to ensure clearance from obstructions. Descent should be planned over known and easily identifiable areas. Deteriorating weather is even harder to detect at night. Therefore, pilots should constantly evaluate the weather throughout the flight. Below are some basic steps to help the pilot remain in VMC throughout the flight. Come to a hover if able, or begin very slow flight just above translational lift speeds and land at the nearest safe area. Slowly turn around and proceed back to VMC weather or first safe landing area if the weather ahead becomes questionable. Do not proceed further on a course when the terrain ahead is not clearly discernible. Always have a safe landing area in mind for every flight and always be aware of the safe landing area's location. Study the route whenever possible before flying it and ensure to stay on course throughout the flight. There are 5 basic steps that every pilot should ultimately be familiar with and should be executed immediately after inadvertently entering IMC. Attitude. Level the wings on the attitude indicator, both pitch and bank. Heading. Pick a heading that is known to be free of obstacles and maintaining it. This may be 180 degrees from your current heading. Power. Adjust to climb, power setting. Airspeed, adjust to climb, airspeed. 5. Trim, maintain coordinated flight so that an unusual attitude will not develop. All right, so that was page 4 of 6, Common Errors for Attitude Instrument Flying. All right, and that's chapter 12.